As you can see, I start exactly on time. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Shelley Safian, and I am going to be your guide, your Sherpa, your coach as you learn about ICD-10 PCS. This is the inpatient code system. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but first, we have some important information about this course, okay? And you probably will have a repetition of this if you're taking other courses because this is set for our entire department. All right, so first, I want you to know that especially because this course is only 8 weeks long, you only have 2 absences permitted. So you must get something accomplished that puts a mark on the grade book every week. And only 2 weeks, no matter what your excuses are, more than 2 absences, and you will be automatically withdrawn from the course. Okay? Your homework, your testing, your graded items, you have one do-over the entire term. Okay. So that means if you have a good excuse and you miss a test date, you can talk to me. And if it's a valid reason, I will reopen and give you an extension on that deadline. But you have to remember, you are preparing to work in healthcare. And deadlines are very, very important. And you might say, well, what's the difference? I work in administration. I work in an office. I don't work with patients. But the fact is you are a critical member of the healthcare team. And that means that you have to do things on time. Okay, so now is the perfect time for you to build that habit of being aware of your deadlines and meeting those deadlines. Okay, when we submit claims to third-party payers, when we have to submit reports to the Joint Commission or the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or even CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, they don't say, oh, you forgot to submit this by yesterday. That's okay. No, they say no money, no accreditation, no whatever. So this is very, very important. So another deadline you need to be aware of each and every week, this course, the course week ends Monday nights. So if you're used to having only the weekends to do things, you get that extra day. All right. But I do want to give you a word of wisdom. The fact is that most people do not do their best work when they're pushed up against a deadline. Having that added stress and that restriction is not going to improve your grade. It's certainly not going to improve your learning. And everybody is under stress these days. Have you heard there's a buggy boo in the air? And it's got us all turned upside down. And regardless of who you are or where you are, the fact is that there's a lot of extra stuff going on. So you have a full week to get your work accomplished. If you're going to have a family reunion on the weekend, don't say, I'll just get it done on Monday. Instead, get it done on Thursday. It's much smarter, and I promise you, you will do much better. Okay? Use Chrome for best access. Chrome works best. Now, I'm not saying that Safari or Internet Explorer or Bing will not work, but I will tell you that you increase the chance for encountering technical difficulties. Okay. Is there anybody here that does not get immediately frustrated by technical difficulties? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Drives me nuts. Makes my blood pressure go through the roof. Ah, okay. And just so you know, in this class, 74.5 is and above is passing. All right. A 73 is not passing in this class. So let's keep our head above water. Okay. All right. One more thing that's different than previous semesters is unlike today and yesterday, I am no longer permitted to put the links and the notices for our Zoom meetings in the announcement board. Instead, you have to go to the content menu and go down to the Zoom folder, and the link for that week will be there. And then once this recording is posted, I can only post it in the Zoom folder. Okay, it will not be in announcements. You know, sometimes you just got to follow directions and you don't have a voice. So there you go. So I will email you the links as we come up. So at least you'll have that reminder, but only if you make sure you check your email. Okay. But you can put on your calendar every Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, right? Mm-hmm. Good. I was just checking to see if you were listening. All right. At 1:00 p.m. Eastern time, we will have these sessions. Okay. And as I said, the recordings will go in this Zoom folder under content. Okay. So a new term, a new semester, a new whatever this is. Okay. All right. Any questions about any of this stuff? All righty then. One more thing I want you to do for your own success and your own sanity. Okay. I want you to create a contingency plan. And what that means is you already have something planned out when something else, when your regular way of doing things is off or goes wrong. All right. So I want you to think about, what if you lose power to your house, a hurricane, or even a drunk driver driving into a utility pole? All right. Or if you lose internet service. Okay. You know, we're in hurricane season now, all the way through the end of November. So that's always a lovely possibility. But the fact is that stuff happens, and that is the truth. So I want you to plan now. What do you do if you lose power or if you lose your internet service? Talk to friends, family, neighbors to see if you can maybe use their service, okay, and their power. Check the local public library. So the power may be out in your neighborhood, but the public library may still have power or may still have internet service. And also local restaurants, McDonald's, Wendy's, Panera Bread. There are so many restaurants that offer free Wi-Fi. So you can take your laptop and go and, you know, just have a soda or a milkshake. Oh, I love McDonald's milkshakes. I love Wendy's Frosties. So see, and Panera has great soup. I know that may sound weird now because it's hot outside, but still, okay? And they all have air conditioning, so it's good. All right? But think about it. Already figure out where you can borrow a laptop. Well, okay, where you can borrow a laptop, where you can go with your laptop or use somebody else's computer, so you do not harm your grade. You do not interrupt your education, because this is foundational. Okay? All right. The other thing I want you to think about is, what if your computer stops working? It happens. And you know what? A lot of time computers don't say, I just want to let you know next Saturday at about 3 p.m., I'm going to stop working. They don't do that. They just, boom, don't turn on or don't whatever. Okay. So I want you to think about again, where can you go to get your work done? All right. Again, family, friends, neighbors who have computers who are kind enough to let you get that assignment done and submitted. Okay. Aaron Rent-A-Center, and this is not to be a commercial for Aaron Rent-A-Center, but Aaron Rent-A-Center, if you're not familiar with them, they rent furniture, okay, by the week. Some of you may not know they also rent computers by the week, laptops, okay? So, and it's not expensive. And there are other places, okay? Look into where you could borrow or rent a laptop until you can get yours fixed. And for those of you who live within shouting distance of CCTC, the computer lab has computers that you can use to do your work and complete your assignments. Okay. With this contingency plan planned out now while everything is good, then if something happens, you will not be caught short. You will do fine because you will have it all planned out. Okay? Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Now let's get into it. Any questions about that stuff? That's going to be an all okay, thank you. All right. And I'm going to say this probably a million times before we're done, but I am in my CCTC email at least once a day, every day, 7 days a week. Holidays, rain or shine, I check my email. So I promise you, if you email me, I will respond to you within 24 hours. So I'm right here. I'm on your side. Okay. For this class, you need this book in addition to your Connect. This is, and it may not look the same as long as it says ICD-10 PCS on it, you're good to go. Beautiful. All right. So for those of you who have learned about CPT, CPT is the code set that is used to report procedures, services, and treatments provided to a patient by a healthcare provider. Okay? When that patient is admitted into the hospital as an inpatient, in addition to what the physician does, the hospital also does stuff. Okay. So let's say the patient is going to have surgery. The physician is going to perform the surgery, and you're going to report that with CPT. Okay. However, the hospital provides the operating room, all the equipment, the clean, we hope, sheets. Okay. They're going to provide all the support staff, the surgical technicians and the orderlies, and of course, the computer systems and the sanitization. Okay. So when that patient is admitted into the hospital, everything that the hospital does for them is going to be reported with ICD-10 PCS. Okay. Now, as I just said, you have one surgical procedure on one patient, but you have the physician and then you have what the hospital is providing. And we're going to go by, again, what the procedure is to report this. So we're going to use ICD-10 PCS, which stands for Procedure Coding system. And this is reporting for the hospital facility and what they are contributing to any particular procedure, service, or treatment that's done within the hospital. Does that make sense? Good, thank you. All right, so here's the thing about ICD-10 PCS codes. They all have 7 characters. You remember ICD-10 CM diagnosis codes can have anywhere from 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 characters, right? CPT codes always have 5 numbers, no letters at all. So ICD-10 PCS has 7 alphanumeric, which means you're going to use letters and numbers in the creation of this code. Now, I don't want you to worry about it because just like the other code sets, no memorization is involved here. You're going to use your coding manual to look it up. And what's a little different about PCS is you're going to actually build the code up to 7 characters. And the code manual makes it really easy because they're going to give you tables. And we're going to look at that in just a minute. But always 7 alphanumeric characters, okay? So when you're building your code, keep that in mind because sometimes I do this. Sometimes I will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, I left out something. So that's a good way for you to double check to make sure your code is complete. Now, all the letters of the alphabet are used except the letter O and the letter I. Okay, and that's to avoid confusion with the 0 and the 1, which is brilliant. And I wish they would have done that in ICD-10 CM, but you know, they didn't invite me to the meeting when they created this. So we'll just have to be grateful that at least they came around to their good senses in one place, okay? So whenever you see something that looks like this, it's a 0. And whenever you see something that looks like this, it's a 1. And you don't have to worry about being confused. Okay? All right. Good. All right. The PCS code book has 3 essential sections, okay? The alphabet index, which you can or don't have to use. Remember when you learned ICD-10 CM diagnosis codes, the rule is you must look it up in the alphabetic index first. In this case, you do not have to go into the alphabetic index if you don't want to. It is there to assist you, but as you get familiar with the code set, you may not have to. For example, at some point, I expect you'll remember that if there is a procedure being done on a pregnant woman on the products of conception, like delivering the baby, that code is going to come from section number that starts with the number 1. So you could just go right to it, okay? Or if an x-ray was provided, you can know that that's already going to start with the letter B. You can go right to that section if you want. If you want to double check or have more detail, you can go to the alphabetic index. It's right there for you. Okay, the second is the table section, and this is literally tables, okay? You're going to have the first 3 characters of the code at the very top. So, and we're going to go over that, okay? And then you're going to have a table that has 5 columns. And it's from there you're going to get the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th characters to complete your 7-character code. After the table section are the appendices. And normally I don't pay too much attention to them except in PCS. PCS, these appendices are fantastic. They will provide you with examples of what certain terms mean. They will provide you with further description of what a character or a term means. They are really very handy, and I definitely suggest that you put a tab at the beginning of the appendices because it can be easy to forget they're there, but they are a tremendous help in figuring out in certain cases what's what, especially with anatomy and physiology and um and and what the terms are that are used in this book, because some of the procedure terms are a little different than they are in CPT. Okay, we'll get to that. All right, so these are important for you to you know how to tab your book, right? Like this. Okay. Now, if you have had Miss Johnson for a coding class, she puts like 10 different tabs. She loves to tab everything, which is great. Okay. I'm a minimalist. So I tab the guidelines, the alphabetic index, the tables, and the appendices. Okay. And then I can find my way through in those sections. But what my policy is to tell you is you need to do what makes you feel comfortable. If you want to put 100 different tabs, God bless you. That's fine with me. I don't care. You're the one that's doing it. You're the one that's using this book. So you make yourself comfortable with how it's working. Okay. All right. So the alphabetic index is sorted by root operation term. And this is the term PCS, root operation or root. This is the term that PCS calls the procedure itself. And for those of you who remember, I don't know, third grade English, this is going to be the verb. This is going to be the action term of what the procedure is. And I gave you some examples here like bypass or excision or insertion. Okay. So when you're reading the documentation, that's what you're looking for. What was done, and you're looking for the verb. What was done? What was the procedure actually called? Okay? That's where you're going to start. The next is the body system. So we have a procedure like bypass, okay? Now we're going to look for what body system was the procedure aimed at. Okay, we did a bypass, all right? Well, where in the body as to body system, not anatomical site. So if we did a heart bypass, let's say a coronary artery bypass, what would the body system be? Anybody? You can put it in the chat or you can put your mic on. If we did a coronary artery bypass, what body system is that?
Cardiovascular.
Cardiovascular. Very good. Excellent. Okay. So now, if you haven't remembered yet, this is why we made you take anatomy, physiology, and pathophysiology and medical terminology before you started coding. Oh, all right. Just as a quick tip, if you don't have one already, I strongly recommend you getting a medical dictionary. And I know I'm very old-fashioned. I like to have a medical dictionary that is paper. The reason why is because if I'm reading the physician documentation online, sometimes, depending upon the environment, sometimes I can't even click to open up Google, okay? But for me, it's faster for me to grab this book and look it up, and then I know exactly what I'm doing, what I'm interpreting, okay? So again, Amazon has a Merriam-Webster medical dictionary for under $10. So you don't have to worry about spending a lot of money, and it's a really good dictionary. A lot of my students get it. I have five, actually I have 5 medical dictionaries within arm's reach of me right now. I don't even trust, yes. All right, I'll tell you my secret, all right? If I'm not absolutely sure, like if you said to me patella, I know that's the kneecap. I don't have to look that up, all right? But if there's another term that's used and I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure I know what that is, I look it up. If I was right, I do a little happy dance. Yay, see how smart I am? Okay. If I was wrong, I learned about it before anybody else could possibly know. And now I present myself as knowing the whole entire time because I looked it up. Win, 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 right? Okay. So that's why I love my paper dictionary. Again, it's not bad if you want to. Merriam-Webster has an online medical dictionary that's free, and you might want to bookmark that or favorite, make it a favorite. It's totally up to you, but I will just tell you that having this paper dictionary by my side, you know, easy reach, it just makes it easier. And I got to tell you, sometimes I get really lazy, you know, right? It's like, oh, it's all the way over there and I have to get it up and up. Right. Okay. So I'm just sharing some of my success secrets. All right, the next thing we're looking for is anatomical site, and this is very, very specific, okay? It may be a body part, such as arm, leg, hand, foot, you know, all the pieces, parts that make up you and who you are. Or in this case, it would be the patient and who the patient is, okay? This is the anatomical site that is the target of the procedure. Okay, so if we go back to the example that I said before is a coronary artery bypass, we know that the bypass is the root term, the body system is cardiovascular, and the body part is a coronary artery. Okay, now in some cases, it will list common terms for specific procedures in the index, such as hysterectomy, okay? But now you're going to have to reach back or reach for your medical dictionary or your medical terminology textbook, if you still have it, which would be very smart, all right? And parse out this word. And you know, hyster refers to the uterus, and ectomy means surgical removal of. So that's what that is. And when you get to the table, you will need to know what that means, okay? But the index is providing you with a quicker insight to get to that table, that appropriate table, okay? All right. Now the table section. The table section is in numerical order first, followed by alphabetic order, okay? So there are so many sections in the PCS, which is kind of weird because 0 is the med surg section, and that's the largest section. But then they have lots of littler sections along. So the first table section is going to start with 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we start with the letters B through J. Now, I did not make a mistake. There is no A. I don't know why there is no A. There never was an A, but there you have it. Again, they did not invite me to the meeting. So here you go. Okay. It doesn't matter because they're all in order in your book. So you'll be able to find them. And this is exactly what the tables look like. Okay. So I want to familiarize you with them. As you can see, I mentioned before, at the top of each table, you will find the first 3 characters of the code. The first character is going to tell you what section of the PCS book this procedure belongs. Okay. 0 is medical surgical. 1 is products of conception. And that's all I have memorized because I have the book, so I don't have to memorize anymore. Okay. All right. But the book will tell you. All right. The second character in the code is the body system. So again, gastrointestinal system, cardiovascular system. Okay. And then you do have other things like male genital system, female genital system, because you're going to say in anatomy, there were only 14 body systems, which is correct. Okay. But they have subsected some of these to get more specific with what the procedure was. Okay. The third character in your code, in your PCS code, is going to be the operation, also known as the root operation. Although starting with 2022, you may notice if you have a 2021 book, that third spot may say root operation. Starting with the 2022 book, they cut out the root and now it just says operation. This is your verb, okay? This is exactly what is being done. And here's the good news, because I promised you no memorization, okay? You will notice that not only does it give you the term for this operation, in this case, extraction, it gives you the definition of that operative term, okay, which is pulling or stripping out or off all or a portion of a body part by the use of force, okay? Pulling or stripping out. You're all women here that I can see, so you may know about a D&C, which is dilation and curettage, which is where they scrape out the inside of the uterus, okay? That's a good example. The appendix will have more examples for you that may, it just helps you to understand what's going on, okay? So now we're at the bottom part of the table. All of these codes are going to begin with 0, D as in dog, D as in dog, okay? And that gives us our first 3. For our fourth character, it's going to be the body part. Now remember, this is a specific anatomical site. And again, good news, you have a list. You don't have to worry about, oh, what do they call that? Or what did the doctor call that? It's a very specific term. And you'll notice if they're stripping out the esophagus, you have to go back to the documentation and say, well, where in the esophagus did the doctor do this extraction? Upper, middle, or lower? Okay. You have to know whether it's the right large intestine or the left large intestine, which is confirmed. And then we have below that, we have further detail, the ascending colon, the transverse colon, or the descending colon. And you know that the colon is part of the large intestine. So it all depends on how the physician describes this procedure. Okay. You'll notice that anus is Q down on its kind of its own row. All right. So this is the first lesson as you are picking each word, each term for the part of the code as you build your code. Once you get to the fourth character, which is the body part, you must stick only in that row. Okay. So you can only, if the procedure was done on the stomach, that will give us 0DD6, right? Right?
Mhm.
Thank you. All right. That means I can only stay on this row now. I cannot go and choose for the fifth character, X for external on the fifth character. That's not available on the second row, or I should say the first row. Okay, which means it does not apply. So once you find the body part that matches, then you can only go across. Okay, that's your only way to go. All right, the approach is, how did the doctor get from standing next to the patient in the procedure room to that particular anatomical site? It's that easy, right? How did the doctor get from outside here all the way into the middle esophagus or into the stomach? Did they go percutaneous? You remember, percutaneous means through the skin, okay? Which is also in the front of your book, you will find, and in the appendices, you will find these definitions. So if you go, what did she say percutaneous endoscopic was? I don't remember. Okay, just look it up. It's right there in your book, in your hand, okay? Percutaneous means in through the skin. So you can't see anything. You just, the doctor is just making a hole, okay? Percutaneous endoscopic is you make a hole and then you put a scope in so you can see through that scope, okay? And then via natural or artificial opening endoscopic, what's an, excuse me. Can somebody tell me what a natural opening that I might use to get to the stomach?
Mouth.
Your mouth?
Yes, very good. That is a natural opening. And the doctor's going to put a scope down the natural opening to go down the esophagus into the stomach. So that would be approach that you will report with a number 8. Okay. So far, we're building this 0DD extraction of the stomach 6 via natural opening 8. Now, the next 6th character is going to describe a device. Okay. What is a device? The endoscope is not the device. A device in the land of PCS. Okay. And it does have its own descriptions of regular words. Okay. So you have to read. Sorry to tell you. Okay. A device is only reported when something is put into the body and it stays there after the procedure is over and the patient goes home. Okay. So there was nothing that was left in the patient. So we put a Z, which means no device. A Z, the letter Z, as in 0, not 0, but 0, nothing, nada. Okay. A Z is known as a placeholder. In ICD-10 PCS, the letter Z is used as a placeholder to fill that slot for number 6, for the 6th character, So we can add the information for the 7th character. And the reason it's a placeholder is not only to make sure everything aligns properly, excuse me, but for future expansion. They had the brains enough to know that, who knows, 5 years from now, they may come up with a device for this particular situation to use in this particular procedure. Okay. So if there's nothing there that matches, now sometimes you may have a list of devices and Z, no devices included. And that's when you have to go to the documentation and see, was a device included? Then you report that character. If not, you have no character. You have a Z. And again, there's an appendix that will show you many of the devices and explain what they mean. So you can match it up. All right. The last character, the 7th character, the last column, okay, is kind of a miscellaneous column. And it's there to provide any other pertinent information. So if the procedure, for example, was a diagnostic procedure, that means that the patient had signs and symptoms. And we did this procedure to find, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, to find out what's wrong with the patient. Okay. It might give you an option for therapeutic, which means we know what the problem is. We're going in to fix it. Okay. You will have, depending upon what the procedure is and the body parts and the body system, you will have lots of different choices in that qualifier section. Basically, ICD-10 PCS is nothing more than matching the terms in the table to the terms in the physician documentation. Okay? Now, I will give you another piece of wise sage advice, which is if you are coding a case study or a documentation and you are able to print it out, that's a great idea. Because I think it's easier to go like this from the code book to the case study, back and forth and back and forth. Okay. If not, then you put your coding book here in front of you and you match it on the screen. Okay. And your medical dictionary gives you the advantage of, if the doctor uses a slightly different term than the term used in the code, you can quickly find out what that is. Does this all make sense to you?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, excellent. See, this is why it's very helpful to have the camera on, so that way I can see. Okay. All right. All right. Remember, the most important thing is everything you need to know, almost every question you have is going to have its answer in this code book. Okay. So what I want you to do this week, and this is important, okay, is just spend time looking through the coding manual. Just go from page to page, look at the headers, put your tabs, of course, but also get a feel for the information, what's there and what is not, what is there and where it is. Okay. And remember those appendices. Okay. Because they will really help. And the information in the front of the book will really help. And then I'm here. I don't want to say when all else fails, because I love to be here. I love it when students ask questions. I absolutely, it gives me a feeling of being needed, and I need to be needed. But if you guys can do this, I'm just next. All right. So as we just went through, you can see this code. That's an ICD-10 PCS code, 0996000Z. And you look at that and you go, whoa, what? Okay. But because we know each and every character tells us something different, and we know how to look it up in the code book, you have no problem in interpreting that into words. And it makes it much easier for computers to review, audit, and analyze what's going on. Okay? There you go. All right. So we're going to just look at this particular code and interpret it to show you how you can do that, except for the most part, remember, you're coming from the other side. You're turning the words into codes, but I'm going to show you what the codes say to you and help you get familiar. So the first character in the code always identifies the section of the book. And as I told you, it starts with 0 for meds surge, and then it goes to 9, and then it goes section B through J. So we have 0 as the first character. That tells me this was a medical or surgical procedure. If it started with a 1, it would tell me obstetrics, okay? And I'm going to say this a couple of times, especially once we get there, but obstetric procedures reported from this are not procedures done on a pregnant woman. They are done on the contents of her womb, products of conception, which essentially covers, and we'll go through that on that week when we get to it that week, but zygote, embryo, fetus, and all the pieces, parts that are involved with that, okay? So if they say a pregnant woman had a fractured leg, a compound fracture, and so they had to insert something into her leg, you would not use the obstetric section just because she's pregnant, okay? It's only if it's happening to the zygote, embryo, fetus, okay? All right. Imaging, if the code began with the letter B as in boy, we would know that some X-ray, MRI, CT scan was happening, okay? And again, this is all in the front of your book. Each section of the list shows a grid which specifies the meaning of each character in the code. And we just reviewed that. So this is just a reminder that that's the section that's going to enable you to interpret the words into a code and interpret a code into words. Okay. Now, here's one of the reasons why medical coders have to be a little smarter than the average bear. In the medical surgical section, this is going to explain each character. The first character of the code is the section of the book. The second character in the code is the body system. The third character is the root operation or operation term. The fourth is the body part. The fifth is the approach. How did we get there? The sixth is, was a device put in and left in the patient or taken out of the patient? And 7 is the qualifier, our miscellaneous section, okay? Now, again, I don't want you to memorize this. First of all, it's already right there in your book. But second of all, because of this, when you change sections, the positions change meanings. Okay, so if you're in the measurement and monitoring section of the PCS book, that would be like an EKG, for example. All right. The first character still is the section of the book, but the second character, remember in Med Surg, it was the body system. Now it's the physiological system. The third is still the root operation or the operation term. Now the fourth, remember body system was in position 2 in Med Surg. It's now in position 4 in measurement and monitoring. We still have approach in 5. In 6, we now have it could be the device, but it also could be a function. And then we have our qualifier. Okay. So again, this is all right there in front of you. The imaging section begins with the letter B as in boy. Again, the first character is going to be the section of the book. The second character is body system, just like Med Surg, but not like measuring and monitoring. The third is root type as opposed to operation. This is it going to be an X-ray, a CT scan, an MRI, an ultrasound, like that, okay? The fourth is back to body part. The fifth in this section is, was there contrast? And if so, what was the contrast? Okay. You probably remember from the radiology section of CPT, if you've learned that already, that some, sorry, call you later. All right. You may remember that some procedures in imaging, such as MRIs, can be done with contrast or without contrast. Okay, but here's something a little different. For PCS, you have to know what the contrast material was. I know, but A, there's an appendices to help you, but B, as you learn this, then you'll know to look for it in the documentation, because previously, if you were just looking for with or without contrast, you wouldn't pay attention to the name or the kind of contrast. Now you got to, and if it's not there, you have to query the physician, okay? And now you have 2 characters in this code for a qualifier. Okay. All right, so remember your placeholders are the letter Z. So if you really look and you check your medical dictionary and everything and the physician notes, you know that Z, when it's offered to you, it means we don't have this part. Okay. And you know, when you take your certification exam, that is always a question. What is the letter used as a placeholder in ICD-10 PCS? Have you all taken ICD-10 CM already, diagnosis coding? Or, okay, who can tell me ICD-10, what's the placeholder? What's the letter of the alphabet? Oh, you're just in it now? Okay, it's the letter X. So that helps you not get confused. All right, here's what else will help you not get confused. Me. Okay? I promise you a response within 24 hours. We can email you, email me your question, and I can email you an answer, an explanation, a clarification with some examples. We can set up an appointment to talk on the phone. We can set up for a one-on-one Zoom or Skype or FaceTime if you have an Apple phone. I'm very technologically flexible, whatever you want. Okay, we cannot meet in person unless you all are traveling to Florida, because that's where I live. But let me know. I'll pick you up at the airport. We'll go out for coffee or a milkshake and talk about coding or whatever else. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. I know it's going to take a while. And as you could tell, this is dramatically different from the other code sets. And I say that's the good news and the bad news. Okay. And actually, mostly good news because it's so different. It not only gives you a totally different skill, but you don't have to worry about confusing them. You don't have to worry about, oh, was that in CPT? There's going to be a little bit of a language transition. Okay, I'll just give you a quick example. In CPT, the doctor will write, I excised, okay, the lesion. All right. And that is reported as an excision. Okay. In PCS, you not only look at the word excision, you have to look at what was excised, because if only a piece of an organ, like a lesion, was cut out, that is reported in PCS as an excision. But if an entire organ was excised, like removing a gallbladder, cholecystectomy, that is reported as a resection in PCS. Okay. So you will need to adjust your thinking, your automatic thinking. Oh, I know what that means. Because in PCS, there are going to be a handful of things that are going to be different, have a different definition. The good news is it's all in writing directly in front of you in this PCS book. Okay. All right. So your number one assignment this week, besides what's in the course, is just sit down on the couch if you're watching a rerun or something, or you have time to kill. Who has time to kill? I don't know. But anyway, just kind of flip through the PCS code book. Hi, cat. What's the cat's name?
It's Fury.
Siri? Okay.
Yeah.
I got, wait. She's sleeping, but she always likes to sleep. This is Roxy, my baby girl. She likes to sleep right here between me and the computer. Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks so much for joining me today. And next week, we will review the Heimlich maneuver. No, I'm not choking. My throat is just dry. All right. I'm here for you. I will see you in email if you need me. Otherwise, I peek in the class. I'm in email every day, 7 days a week. And this is actually my most fun code set. So you're going to love it. Okay. All right. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next Wednesday, 1 o'clock. Be
Thank
here
you.
or be square. Bye.
Bye-bye.